on LinkedIn as Raz Dynamics. My full name is Razwan Choudry from Manchester, United Kingdom. I've been delivering Dynamics 365 enterprise solutions now for, this is almost 20 years, actually. So it's been a long time working through all the different various Dynamics products in various different industries. So feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to help you out where I can on your particular challenges, whether it's F&O, whether it's CE, whether it's field services, project operations, whether it's Power Platform development. Feel free to connect. Okay, so let's get started. Architecture. So let's start from scratch. First of all, there was nothing, right? And then there was Azure. Okay, so first of all, before you have anything, you need Azure. The Azure is infrastructure. What is Azure? Okay, Azure are a set of services, cloud services that have been provisioned by Microsoft in data centers. These data centers are located throughout the globe. Some of them are located in physical buildings. Many of them are now moving into the oceans to be able to reduce a lot of the carbon footprint. But the important thing to know about is when you're implementing Dynamics 365 supply chain, what is it that you're implementing? Well, first and foremost, Azure would provision the databases for the application. And so similar to F&O, it's all built on the finance and operations platform that was previously known as AX. So that infrastructure still remains relatively similar, where you've got an entity store and you've got an operational database. The operational database will handle the main transactions, whereas the entity store is used primarily for reporting. You've also got the bring your own database, the BYOD, that you can provision to also further your reporting requirements. And then you've got the enterprise data warehouse that you can enable to allow enterprise-wide access to data. For those users who don't have access to Dynamics 365 finance and supply chain, and you want to extend the reporting out further, that's where enterprise data warehouse and BYOD play an important role. So what else is provisioned after the SQL databases? Well, we have a series of Windows Server containers. These Windows Server containers provision all the services that are provisioned. So previously, back in the day when I began my career in Dynamics, I had to actually build these servers, right? Before the Microsoft Cloud, we had to build these Windows servers with the application servers on, with the SSRS reporting servers, with the client-facing servers, the batch workflow servers. We had to physically build these servers and host them in data centers in offices before Microsoft announced its cloud. And this is still the same, except Microsoft has moved it into Azure, and it manages these in Azure container services. Now, most importantly, is you've got Active Directory, which manages the security between all these services as well as the users. So this is the important part, guys. So please pay attention to this part here. And what we're going to be focusing on now is actually the what services are being provisioned as part of the implementation. So we've talked about the databases. We've talked about the Windows services. This has all been orchestrated and put together and architected to provision the following services, right? So you've got web services. Now, these web services provide multifaceted web services, actually. These web services are REST. The REST endpoint is the standard endpoint you get for finance and supply chain to access the data through a REST endpoint, which is the main metadata data structures that are supplied out of the box for finance and supply chain. But then you've also got the OData service, and you've got SOAP custom services as well. And so the OData services is what we can actually customize for our custom integrations. Now, it's important for everyone to be aware of that this OData service is very important, and it's very much linked to data entities. So data entities consider data entities a way of abstracting out all this infrastructure of data endpoints and web services. Data entities allows you to abstract that out at a business level. So you can now start exposing a more normalized structure for the purpose of integrations, right? So that's where data entities plays an important role. And you can create your own custom data entities. There are native data entities that come out the box that Microsoft ships, but there's custom data entities that you can create for the purposes of your integrations. Now, the mechanics of data entities plays an important role throughout the ecosystem of finance and supply chain. Because, for example, if you want to use the Excel add-in, well, that has a dependency on the data entities. If you want to use DualWrite, that also has a dependency on the data entities. So data entities plays an important role when it comes to extending and enhancing, as well as the Power Platform, right? Virtual entities. If you want to use virtual entities with Dynamics 365 Finance Supply Chain, for those who don't know what virtual entities are, it's a way of exposing the data from finance and supply chain out into, say, into a Power App or into Dynamics 365 Customer Engagement, exposing that data, but without actually moving the data. Because if you think about it, when you're moving data from one system to another, often it involves replication of data. And once you replicate data, it gets very messy because now you have to look after something. You have to maintain that quality of data. Master data management is required. And so that's where virtual entities plays a huge role, because now it gives you real-time access to the data within inside finance and supply chain without having to actually move the data across. It exposes data at runtime using data entities and using the concept of plugins. So those who are aware of Dynamics 365 plugins, which was native to Dynamics 365 Customer Engagement, and now as part of the Power Platform, the plugin mechanics is what's used to generate the actual real live view of the data from F&O using data entities and the OData service endpoint through plugins. Okay, the SOAP custom service, SOAP is still there, right? SOAP is still available as a service. Yes, it's more for a traditional service. Sometimes it's quite useful when you've got a very complex integration and maybe you don't want to use a RESTful OData service endpoint, then you can use a SOAP custom service if you wanted to. Business events is the new modern way of integrating with F&O, providing triggers and a way to trigger and engage with the platform, the finance supply chain platform, without affecting the performance. Because if you think about it, finance supply chain, very, very large data structures, complex data structures with many millions of transactions. Once you start triggering events, you're triggering cascading events across the entire application ecosystem. And so what business events does is it helps you to isolate what you're triggering and provide those endpoints to allow your integrations. There's also electronic messaging services. You've got the data access and security services. You've got the task recorder, which allows you to be able to help with facilitate with your test automation and your user adoption and creating documentation of your processes within the application. You've got caching, but the DualWrite, which is an important one, which I mentioned before when I was talking about data entities, that has a dependency on the data entity structures, and it uses the similar plugin mechanism I mentioned earlier to do the synchronous exchange of data between finance supply chain and Dynamics 365 customer engagement, your CRM. Okay. And this is primarily used natively out of the box for field services, as well as project operations, as well as standard sales, prospect to cash scenarios for an end-to-end journey of your customers. You've got the workflow engine, you've got the electronic reporting and the reporting and analytics native to finance supply chain. You've got your UI and form rendering engine, and then you go your batch service. So batch service and DMF are two important components. The batch service is there to run your batch jobs, because if you think about it, you don't want to be running workflows sometimes throughout the day because you've got a live system with millions of transactions running. So it may be the case that certain transactions you want to batch them and run them maybe overnight or certain times in the day where it doesn't impact your system performance. That's where you use your batch service. And then you've also got DMF. We covered DMF in the administration bootcamp last week, where we did a deep dive into the framework to allow you to manage your integrations using the DMF. So that plays a very important role in your integrations. So anyway, finally, before I go X++, so the AOS, which allows you to now customize your finance supply chain model. Obviously, it's used X++ classes. That will also be obviously stored and rendered using the AOS engine. So that's a quick overview of the architecture, of the actual architecture, but there's some important things I need to still cover, okay? So last time we covered the finance aspect, okay? All the finance features, everything to do with the general ledger and the accounts receivables and all the features you get with inside of finance. So we covered that in the first week of the Dynamics 365 Finance Bootcamp, okay? And these aren't necessarily a dependency, because if you install supply chain, you can actually use it. And Mariano confirmed this, that you can actually use supply chain without using the finance features, because it will it will import the core dependencies that are required for processing those transactions. But what's important for you to be aware of is the additional services that are provisioned when you provision a finance supply chain environment. So you also get the Power Platform native capabilities. You get obviously LCS, which is now moving into Power Platform, which is the lifecycle services for managing your DevOps, your environments, your deployments, the deployment of your code and packages. Certain telemetry insights are managed through lifecycle services. And we actually have a session on this next week where we go through some of the new announcements regarding Power Platform and the role it plays with lifecycle services. That will be covered in the Dynamics 365 F&O Developer Bootcamp next week. But we've also got the POS application. We've got blob storage, which is native to F&O, which allows you to store documents natively in the database. You've got the Excel add-in that I mentioned earlier. That's a very powerful feature that's used to allow you to easily access your data, get the data out and back in from within finance supply chain. You also got the Power Platform. This is the new modern way of customizing your finance supply chain. Previously, everything was done in X++. More and more, we're moving into Power Apps and Power Automate and Power BI. Power BI is being used a lot more than the native reporting tools within inside of finance supply chain. You've also got the mobile app, and you've got the customer portals, which I'll talk about now. So let's go through the actual supply chain features now, okay? And importantly, one of the things that I want to mention is that all these features, whether it's asset management, transportation management, whether it's sales and marketing, a very light version of sales and marketing, production control, you've got inventory management, warehouse management, you've got master planning, demand planning, you've got intercompany trade, vendor applications, cost management, cost accounting. These are all core features of supply chain. But one thing that I want you to also be aware of is traditionally these applications would be built native within the actual AOS and X++ application form within inside of finance supply chain application. However, what's happened is that a lot of these apps are now moving into the Power Apps and Power Platform. So a lot of these apps, obviously the warehouse management app hasn't been moved within inside of the Power Platform yet. And we're covering how to actually use and develop that today and next week, the warehouse management app. But the other apps, whether it's the warehouse app, you've got the traceability app, you've got the demand planning app, you've got the vendor portal, which is now a Power Pages portal that you can provision. You've got planning optimization. So all these new apps that you're getting available within inside of finance supply chain are now moving into the Power Apps domain, versus navigating them via the traditional approach of finance supply chain. So there's a lot of changing approaches to the architecture of finance supply chain that you need to be aware of. People who worked with this, say, 5 years ago, is completely different to how they would have used it today in today's age. So I better crack on because I am overstepping my time. So without further ado, so that's a very high level overview of the supply chain architecture that's made available to you. And quickly going now over to the agenda that we're covering today. We've got the next speaker, Mariano, who's going to go over these features that I've just kind of gone over now. So these features for supply chain, he's going to give you a quick whirlwind review of those, and then go give you a bit of a deep dive into product management. And after Mariano, he will then cover asset management as well immediately after. Followed by Mariano, we'll be covering warehouse management with Anna, who's Mariano's colleague. And then after Anna will be Maria, who'll be covering the traceability add-in. Followed by Juan Vargas, who is also the co-author of the Becoming a Supply Chain Consultant with Mariano. So you'll get to meet him. And then we have Luis, who will be covering the intelligent order management approach to order orchestration. We've got Andrew Lensack, fellow Microsoft MVP as well, be covering demand planning. And his colleague Christian as well, who'll be joining him. And then we've got Mariano, who will then also be covering master planning as well. So yeah, so without further ado, Mariano, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Raz. So for start, I'm going to share my screen. Tell me if
we can see your screen now, yeah.
We can see. Okay, so as Raz was telling us, within the architecture of supply chain, we have not only one but a lot of modules that are integrating between the platform. Okay, so most of them come from years and years of development and upgrading and new features from the last version. For example, if we see for sales and marketing or production control, they come from earlier versions, so they have a lot of new functionalities and so on. But to give you an insight of what supply chain is covering right now, we can start with asset management, which is going to be my next session. This module is orientated to do all the asset maintenance, which maintenance plan, and is integrating with a lot of modules. We will see this in a minute. We have cost accounting as part of the SCM module, which allow us to give a different perspective of the accounting for manufacturing and all the operations in the shop floor. Cost management is how we can handle cost of our inventories and sales and all the process that happens with inventory mostly. Inventory management is one of the core modules of supply chain. Is handle all the inventory, all the stock that is moved between the company. We have here something that is in preview right now, which is sensor data intelligence. It's known mostly as IoT. So IoT is the Internet of Things, so we can connect via Azure services, Azure IoT services, some signals from the components of the, for example, if we are working with asset management and doing some maintenance, we can connect sensors from the machinery to alert dynamics from, I don't know, for example, repairments or a furnace that is above each temperature or something that is broken on a truck or on a machinery in real time, so we can trigger some repairments and so on. So this is now part of a preview that is working for the last year, I believe. Then we have master planning, which is to plan all the procurement orders that is going to be part of our of our plan to fulfill all the demands. Followed by that, we have demand planning. Demand planning is one of the Power App applications that connect directly to Dynamics. We are going to have a session with Andrew and Christian about demand planning. And it's mostly for working with forecast. The first step of the sales and operation planning is start here. And we can plan future sales and prospect and forecast based on past years or something. Unified pricing management is a new module that is in preview, which allow us to create a pricing hierarchy about all of our products that are going to be part of the sales process or the POS, and it's actually in preview. Procurement and sourcing is the procurement part, which we can create our purchase orders and requirements for our company. Product information management we're going to see in a minute. It handles all the information that the product has and how we can configure a product, which versions we can handle, and so on. Engineering change management is controlling all the changes in the product that happens to be with new versions of a manufacturing product mostly. So if we change a component, we can version that component and approve and handle the lifecycle process of this product. Production control is going to manage all the manufacturing process. Here we have a lot of different process, for example, which is lean manufacturing, of process manufacturing, and so on. Controls every aspect of the manufacturing process, as the bill of material, consumptions, resources, and that's the part of the manufacturing process. Rebate management will control the rebates for the procurement process. While sales and marketing will control the sales orders and all the prospect to cash process that happens in the sales part. Service management is working alongside with project operations or project management, which is not part of the supply chain model, but service management is to handle services in field, is also connecting with field service that is part of the CRM proposal of Microsoft. Then we have transportation management, which handles all the operations of the fleet that we have. It has like tariff management and routing and so on for transportation. Landed cost, we have a session with Juan later on. Landed cost is going to cover all the process of importing items or products from overseas, for example, and if we handle all the process from when we create a purchase order and confirm it until the item is received in our warehouse. And finally, warehouse management, which will be another session that is going to be delivered by Anna today. Controls all the operations in the warehouse, the inbound, the internal management of the warehouse, and, for example, all the picking and outbound process with the warehouse management app. Raz mentioned something about the app. The app is not built in Power Apps because it has a long time with us, and I don't believe that they're going to change it in the meantime. It's going to still be as an application separately of Power Apps, but we can customize that app and, for example, develop some methods that is going to be inside this application to handle processes that are not covered in the standard, for example. But I think that in the development bootcamp, we have a session about that. Okay, so let's jump in Dynamics for a minute. And let's start seeing some of these modules. Okay, so let's hit home. Okay, so now I'm entering the finance and operation. This is a preview environment, but has all the functionalities of the system. If you see in earlier in the finance bootcamp, for example, or the development bootcamp, you see the same screen because in this application in the ERP, we don't have a segmentation between finance and supply chain. So you will see in the upper left hand side finance and operations as a whole. So even here in the modules, you will perceive that every module between finance and the supply chain is here. So you don't have a segment or a difference between them. This is because DRP from the first year and until today is one whole application. Okay, so this is if you want to segment, this is going to be part of the security and licensing that you have to buy and set up before users can access this. In this case, I'm a system administrator, so I have access of everything, and my license is a full license, so I have access to finance and also supply chain. But this is working because of of my permissions. Okay. So in the left-hand side, we have all the modules that are allowed for my user that I have access, and in the center we have the workspaces, which we'll be covering in this bootcamp. But the difference is this is the normal sandwich menu that you can access, and if you click, for example, asset management, you will see every menu on every form that you can access on this module. But if you go to the workspace are oriented to one worker or one function in the company. For example, if I go to asset management, and we're going to see this in the next session, and for example, maintenance request management, what are going to see here is everything related to maintenance requests. So if I need to create a request or handle request in some way, it's going to be here. If I go, for example, to procurement and sourcing and go to the workspace of purchase order preparation, I am aiming this functionality to a purchaser agent, which is going to create and handle all the aspects of the purchase order. Okay, so this is orientated to some functionality or to some user. That's all the workspace, and you will see here the apps, as Raz was mentioning. These are connections or applications outside the finance and operation or the finance and supply chain ERP. So if you click on some of these, it's going to, for example, if I go to demand planning, which we have a session today as well, it's going to go to the demand planning application because it's installed and has all the permissions there. But it's, if you can see, it's outside the ERP. It's a power up, a power page, I think, or a model driven app, I don't remember. But it's outside the ERP, as you can see here. Same with all these applications that I am having here. Okay. So one of these modules that I have here is the product information management. The product information management is a vertical of a module that handles everything related with the life cycle process of a product. Okay. Dynamics, differently to other ERPs, is multi-company, so have different legal entities that I can create. For example, here I have my USMF enterprise or company, and if I click here, I could change to different legal entities that have different information products. Could be the same, for example, accounts or something, but there are different companies with different process or warehouse or everything, or products even. So product information management is aiming to create one shared product between all legal entities, and if we need to create or use that product in different entities, we have to release to each legal entity. Okay, so that's the first main concept about product information management. You will see here in the products menu that we have different access, and everything is related to the product. So we can see products here and released products. This is the main difference that I was saying now. That is product, for example, if we access here, we will see every product in all legal entities. So for example, this first item, which is a use accessory combo set, if we click here, we can see that it has some information about the product, but it's lacking, for example, of crucial information, which is the unit of measure, for example, or the accounting, which is going to be impacted by the sales process or something like that. So that's the main thing here. When we create a product, a shared product like this, we are completing some information, but not everything we need to this product to be processed. And if we want to use this product, we need to release it from here. So you're going to create this product and release it to next, the company that you need to use it. For example, if I want to sell this set into the USMF company, I'm going to release it here. I'm going to click next, and then when I hit finish, it's going to create this release product into my USMF company. But if I don't do that, the product is not usable for this company. Now it's telling me that the operation is completed, so I can go now to the release product form. And as you can see, here is my use accessory combo with the same item number. That's some difference that in the previous form was the product number, now is the item number, because this number is the number for this company. We can have different numbers in that different number, different product number and an item number that are not the same, but the suggestion is keep the same number because we're going to lose it anyway. So if I access here now in the release product details form, I have a lot of information that I can cover. For example, which are my prices. I am going to sell this product in which unit of measure. How do I going to plan this? In my master planning module is going to be by requirements, by period, I don't know. So all of this information is available now in this company to be fulfilled. If I click in validate, this action is telling me if this product is going to be usable. So if, as you can see, it showed me an error message that says a value is missing, enter a value in the item model, blah, 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 blah. So it's going to show me where or the things that I need to complete for this release product. The other way to create a product is from this form. So let's go back to the list and we can click on new. And we can create here a release product from scratch. The difference is from the other way that creating first step a product and then the item and then release it to the company is here we are going to create both. When we create a release product, Dynamics is creating the product and then the release product at the same time. Okay. First of all, we need to indicate here if we are going to create an item or a service. Okay, an item is a stock product and a service is an operation that we can do for something is not stock, is out of stock, so it's not traceable. And here we have something called product subtype, which is product and product master. Okay, product is the product that we know that has a stock and we can trace that in every way. And product master is going to allow us to indicate some variants that are going to modify that product. Okay, the easiest way to explain this is, for example, when we sell t-shirts and we have one model of t-shirt that is a plain color t-shirt without any stamp or anything. So it's a t-shirt. If we want to sell this t-shirt, we can come here and indicate a product variant and say, okay, from this t-shirt, which is the t-shirt, plain t-shirt, is this product t-shirt, we can create a product variant and indicate colors for this item number. So what I will have here is the t-shirt with this SKU and, for example, in size or colors in black, red, and white. And when I purchase or sell or move this item into my system, I have to indicate which color this t-shirt will have. So I can create a predefined variant of this product and create each color that I'm going to use, and stock is going to be or inventory is going to be traced by stock, and I can see every item that I have segmented variants or not. So this handles the benefit of using product variants is that we can have one item number for every color or every different variant of product that we can handle in our company, and not creating one item number and one SKU for each color that we have. So it's a it can simplify things. We can handle different costs on different variants, for example. This is all, we can set up everything of this in Dynamics. And this is one way to create a product master. We have the dimension and constraint based configuration, which is going to allow us to set a different kind of variables to our product creation, and based on that we can create the product. For example, this is really useful for companies that have make to order process, where, for example, we can purchase or the company sells a product that is customizable by the customer. So instead of creating each different variant that a product can have, we don't create any item or just one item, and we define the dimension on the constraint-based configuration. And we, in the sales order, we can select each part of the product, and it's going to create a new SKU in a new variant. And based on that, we can even trigger the creation of a production order with a predefined bill of materials to manufacture that item based on the selection that we did in the sales order. Sorry. Okay, that's the product master subtype that is here in the release product. We are going to create just a simple product. We're going to create this plain t-shirt. Here we have the reference group. The reference group are the main pillars of this of the release product. In the item model group, we're going to handle how this item is how is the behavior of this item in our
Okay, hello there, Mariano. Can you still hear us?
Yeah,
we just lost you for about 10 seconds. You're back now.
10 seconds.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'm here. So as I was saying, item model groups is the behavior of the item. If I configure this as a FIFO item, and we can see here that it's a first in, first out product, which is going to be cost as this type of product. And for example, in the ledger integration, I'm going to post the physical and financial inventory. This means that when I receive this product, it's going to be posted as a physical journal, a physical journal. And when I invoice this product, create the purchase order invoice, is going to be post financially. So I'm going to track both of these journals. Okay, and if I allow the physical negative inventory, so this could drop below zero in my inventory or in my financial negative inventory, which is I can use my product before the invoice is registered in the system and so on. Okay, so there are a lot of setup here. Then my item group is my accounting. So I'm going to set this up each financial account that the product is going to handle in each part of my process, the sales accounting, the purchase accounting, inventory accounting, and so on. Storage dimension group is where I'm going to trace this inventory. If I'm going to handle the stock of this item on site warehouse on location, or for example, I'm going to use the warehouse management process. This allows us to segment the inventory in this kind of thing. I'm going to hit in here. And tracking dimension group is going to be if I use serial number or batch number, both or none. So I'm going to click on none. Then we have the unit of measure and the sales taxation, the sales tax group for purchase and sales. And if we have a pre-assigned vendor, we can complete it here. And then we have the purchase price here. So when we click OK, sorry, I missed something. Field product must fill in, but I fill it. Okay, no problem. So when I create that, it's going to create one of these with all of this information here that I set up in the previous screen, and I can cover all the and can complete all the missing information if, for example, we are going to use some or more of the modules in the system. Okay? I don't want to extend more than my assigned time. So one thing to mention here real quick is we have a copilot in the release product page that is going to tell us about the product, the purchase information. For example, the default purchase order price is $12, and the sales information in case we summarize the sales. We can see here the sales price or how inventory was sold. This is information generated automatically by Copilot. And if we can lose in all of this information, we can click on the views. And for example, if I click in product creation, what I will see is all the field and the information we need to complete for this product to be usable. Okay. And the same with the others. I can see logistical information filtered or purchase or sales information. These are standard views, but we can create our own. Okay. So that's an overview of the product information management module, real quick, to understand how Dynamics is handling products and how we can create and release product from one company to another. Okay. I don't know if we have some questions about this.
Hello there, Mariano. So there are no questions yet. So remember, everyone, there is a chat, the Q&A. Sorry, so if you go into the Q&A tab, there is a place where you can ask your questions in relation to the product information management in finance and supply chain. So there are no questions. So you are welcome to proceed to your next chapter on asset management whenever you're ready, Mariano. Feel free to take a little break if you wish to.
Yeah, I need to connect some things because I'm going to share my phone screen to show the asset management app. So I'm going to take like 5 minutes to connect everything, and then we can continue.
That's completely fine. So a reminder to everyone, feel free if you do have any questions. It was obviously, there was limited time to cover this particular feature. We will be covering asset management for the whole hour now. So if you do have any questions, you still have time to ask in the Q&A. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you for your question there, Andrew. So Andrew was asking, clients always ask for a detailed list of what each release product field represents, such as definitions, functionality, etc. What does this list exist for all fields on the release product? Does this list exist for all fields on the release product? So that's the question by Andrew. Clients always ask for a detailed list of what each release product field represents. Definitions, functionality. Does this list exist for all fields on the released products?
You have in Microsoft Learn some of the fields listed. I don't believe that you have a list of every or each field in the product information management form, but it's mostly self-explanatory. If you, for example, go into the, I'm going to share again real quick. If you go to the form here, I don't know, I'm going to access this product. This one. For example, if you want to know this product, it has like an intelligence that it says to you which is the purpose for each of these fields. So you can see every field here in the same application. But I don't believe that you have a detailed list of each release product details form or fields in this form. Okay. So I'm now asking, is there a way to automate or rapid the data information entered in the release product? Yes. Most of the fields are completed automatically when you create a product. For example, the defaulted fields are created automatically, but you could change it. You have something that is a template. If you go to apply template, you can create some templates based on a created product. So in the creation form, for example, if I want to go to new again, And here in the apply template, you can select one of these, and it's going to automatically populate every field in the not only here in the release product dialogues, but in the form, same as the product that you previously created. Okay, it's like a copy of the information. And obviously, if you are thinking about, for example, migration process where you could move information from one system to another, you will have the DMF, the data management framework, which you could set up there and create and migrate each field that you have here in the form. You could also go to Power Apps and create an RPA and I don't know, an application, so to Power Apps and Power Automate, so you could set up some fields and via automation you can populate the fields that you want. You have multiple options, but ERP standard is that the template is one of them and the migration process is another. So 1 second more. Yes, there is. Okay. Let's hope for this to work. Okay, we can start.
Thank you very much, Mariano. Over to you.
Okay, let's start with the asset management module. We will see here an overview of the module, what it means, what it covers, what is the scope of this module. Okay. So, well, Raz just present myself. I'm going to skip this this slide, but well, as I mentioned, I have co-authored a book with Juan, which have a session later on, which all this concept in we're going to see today is covered by the book. Is aimed for new professionals to certified as a supply chain functional consultant. Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can, Mariano.
Yeah.
We can hear you, yes.
I'm having like microcuts, but we'll working on. I changed my Wi-Fi now, so let's hope for the best. Okay, so let's start. What is asset management? So what is covering this module? Okay, asset management will cover everything we need in an organization to do the maintenance work. If the main functionality is to do all maintenance related to asset. When we read the asset management real quick, we think that is covering all the asset process when we can depreciate or and so on. And it's not aiming to that, it's aiming more to the supply chain part, which is maintaining an asset, to do the maintenance, to, for example, do overhauls over the assets, and not even that, but also plan in the future how we are going to maintain this asset in his life cycle. Okay, so we have different ways to do this. We could do a preventive maintenance, which is we can plan for the asset life cycle, or for example, for the year, the months, or everything, which maintenance we have to do, which prevent the asset to break. Or we can do a corrective maintenance, which we are going to create these work orders when the asset is has a failure or is broken. Okay, that's the main difference and main orders that we can create in this module. But the asset management module in Dynamics is prepared also for doing what we call proactive maintenance or AI generated maintenance. So we can connect these plans to IoTs, for example. What I was saying in the last session, that we could create an IoT via signal management and receive those signals from an asset. For example, if we are working with a forklift and we have a sensor that handles the brake fluids or something like that, if that fluid is below some measurement that the sensor detects, it can send a message to Dynamics and create a preventive maintenance work order to handle that problem. Okay, that's mainly the scope of this this module. So why is important to implement this module? So the main goal for implementing an enterprise asset management, which is the name of the process, is reduce maintenance costs. Most of the time, we or companies that doesn't have a preventive plans, the preventive maintenance plan, mostly wait for the asset to break and do corrective maintenance. So this spikes the maintenance cost because we need to purchase parts and so on. The asset is going to depreciate faster. So one of the main benefits is to handle better the cost. Also reduce the downtime of the equipment and increase the asset lifespan. If we do program maintenance to the asset, we plan beforehand when we have to stop or stop a machine. We could plan ahead, for example, a production process. If we have two production lines and we have to stop one to do maintenance, we can plan ahead, I don't know, the week, and between that hour that we have to stop the asset or have that downtime, we can handle the order for the other line and so on. So it's planning ahead and have that is going to reduce these downtimes, and also the asset lifespan, because I don't know, but everyone that has a car knows that we have to do some preventive maintenance when we hit, I don't know, 5,000 kilometers. We need to change the oil or the filters and so on. So this is the same. We do that because we want our car to have a good life and a long life. So to increase that lifespan is important, and that is what an EAM is going to provide us. Okay. And also increase of operational efficiency, because as I was saying, if we plan ahead of this maintenance, we can go ahead go ahead the maintenance and plan if we need to divert some of the operations to another machine, if we need to do some things to have low to higher the efficiency. And if we have a breakage, normally we have to stop production and see or plan with the broken machine what we have to do if we want to divert from one way to another, and this obviously increase costs. Okay, just a second, I have to change this. Okay, let's move on. So we have some common scenarios in the enterprise asset management process. For example, if we have production equipment, we can do the maintenance for this production equipment, the machinery, I don't know, extruders or something like that we have in the production facilities. This is going to connect with the production calendar and scheduling, because each downtime that we plan ahead is going to be notified to the production area, and this notification is going to be part of the scheduling of the schedule of these production orders. Okay. We can do a facility maintenance. We can say, okay, each asset of this facility is going to be maintenance in some particular day. For example, I had a project where in a mining company, which what they do is they have like a big machine who crushes the rocks to extract the mineral from the rocks. So they plan a year ahead, do the maintenance for that machine, because they have to stop all the facility, all the mining site was needed to stop. So what we do, they implemented Dynamics 365 and the asset management module. What they do is they plan ahead everything, based on that, because when we have to change one component of that machine, it takes like 6 or 7 months to manufacture that component. So they plan ahead like a year to change that component, and based on that, they plan all the facility maintenance to stop to lower the downtime of that facility. Okay, so that's one of the scenarios that you can have. Another one is the warehouse equipment like forklift and so on. And shipping fleet is if you have a known fleet, you can set up the counter for each truck, for example, and I don't know, in each kilometer we can plan ahead to do those maintenance and know the next month how much we have to invest in maintenance for those fleets. Then we have two types of maintenance that is related to customer asset, that are assets that we don't own, and leased asset. The leased asset is associated with the leasing process of asset management. We can lease those assets to a third party and then plan ahead this maintenance to notify beforehand that we are going to use those assets. Okay, we want to maintenance those assets. As we are saying, this is part of the acquire to dispose business process. So the first part of the process, we can see it here. Sorry, we can see here that the main part of the process, which is in blue, are covered by asset management, and the other part is covered by the fixed asset module, which is a financial model. So when we acquire an asset, a machinery or a forklift or something like that, we're going to go for the process of acquiring those assets, that is mostly a financial process. Then we're going to install it in a functional location. We are going to register that asset. We can use this module to control the spare parts. If we have a lot of spare parts of this asset, we can control and work with that. We can also do maintenance plans for this asset. This could be, I don't know, 1 or 2 times a month, or if it's a vehicle or a forklift or something like that, for hours of processing or via counters. We're going to see that in a minute. Breakdown maintenance is regarding to when we have a break of an asset, we can do a corrective maintenance. We have also the preventive maintenance, the execution of the maintenance plan. The module has analytics and KPIs that we are going to show. We can do or control via maintenance checklists, which are some lists that the workers have in their mobile devices. So they have to control each step of the process to do a full maintenance, and that is controlled by the system. For reporting purpose, we have the fault management. So if an asset is break for some reason, we can control which is the origin of the fault, and then have reporting about that, which I don't know how much we are spending on the belt of machinery we can do it about that, or for, I don't know, overheating and so on. So each asset could have a fault list that we can associate, and in each order we can track that. As I said, we can have a budget and cost control of each order or each asset, or a group of assets, or a facility, whatever we want to do it. we have a schedule board to schedule workers to each asset or each plant maintenance order in the system. The mobile app, we're going to show it in a minute, and we have the asset history that says each maintenance that the asset had, how much it cost, and so on, and also the maintenance rounds, which are, for example, if we want to do a facility maintenance, we can do a round for a worker to control visually, for example, each asset is in some location, and if that asset has a problem or something, he can raise that problem via the maintenance round. Okay, and finally, the last part of the process, go back to the fixed asset to do the disposal or selling, disposal, or whatever we have to end the life of this asset, and the electronic reporting path to do the books, the reporting of the books, and so on. So this is the full process from acquire to dispose of an asset. As you can see, is covered not only by the supply chain, but also the fixed asset in the financial module, and it covers all the life cycle of an asset. Okay. We mentioned something about functional locations. Dynamics use functional locations to install asset, and it shows this process in levels. Okay, so for example, if we use functional locations based on site, we can have a site A and B, and in each site have a production line, which also is another functional location. Work centers based on that, and this could be assets, for example, and inside or functional locations as well. And inside these functional locations, we can have each asset associated. So if we need to do a round, we can do a maintenance round based on the production line 2, on the site A, or even the work center. So each asset associated with every location inside this tree is going to be included in this round. Okay? So same if we process a plant maintenance for the work center to C, and so on. We can also use the functional location based on a customer. If we use this module to do maintenance for customer asset or list asset, we can create each function.
Hello there, Mariano. I think we've lost you again. Hello, Mariano. I think we've lost Mariano.
Hello.
Hi, we lost you again for about 10 seconds. Mariano,
Okay.
feel free to switch off your camera if it helps, if it's taking up too much
Yeah,
bandwidth.
I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to
I'll
do
do the same.
that. Let's hope this works, but yeah. Okay, let's continue. So as I was saying, functional locations allow us to group certain assets into, for example, sites, on sites, or customer locations. And we can have not only in these three assets, but functional location, but also asset. For example, each printer could have asset, and inside those printer, we can have the different parts of the asset as a sub-asset or a child asset. Okay. Let's continue here. Good. So asset have a lot of data that we can populate. Same as we see in the product part, asset has a lot of different fields we can populate and set up. So as part of these fields, we can show, for example, if we create an engine as an asset, we can associate a product of a model, an asset type, which is the main part of the asset, which we are going to see if this is an engine, a truck, or different components, and based on that, we're going to categorize the shops that we are going to use. Maintenance plans are going to be associated with the asset as a counter, or for example, time. If it's a counter, is this a scenario where we have like 20,000 kilometers for doing an asset, and each time that the asset hits 20,000 kilometers, going to create a new maintenance order, a preventive maintenance order, and so on. And finally, based on the shop type or what we associated to this asset, we can create forecast. So the forecast is mostly for the preventive maintenance. So if we say that for the 20,000 kilometers, we are going to spend air filters for or oil, for example, for this engine, and I don't know, anything else, and the maintenance is going to last 3 hours, this is going to be the budget, and it's going to be associated with a forecast. And when we create this work order, this preventive work order, system is going to create a budget for that order, and is going to compare with the real time and the real items that we consume for this order. Okay. Okay, let's see some of this in dynamics. Sorry, I think you can see here. That's better for me. Okay, so let's jump into the dynamics module. Sorry, so in the asset management module, so we can go from here to the asset management, and we are going to see a lot of information here. So if we jump into the assets, we can see all assets and functional location as well, as we see now. So let's go here first to the asset view. So asset view gives us these three view when we can see the assets and the functional locations that are associated. For example, here I have a production plant, which is USMF plastics, and if I expand this node, I will see every location inside the USMF plastics plant. So I have, for example, the extrusion lines. Okay, if I expand the extrusion lines, I will have more locations, the line 1, 2, and 3. And if I expand, for example, the line 2, I will have this asset which is the extruder line. And I can see here that it has 3 maintenance requests, 1 active order, and has 2 children. So these 2 children are more assets in the same asset associated. Okay, so these are mostly the associations between functional locations and asset. This asset view give us the how we can see those nodes and this relationship between the asset. And if we install, for example, an asset in the USMF plastics power plant, we are going to relate to this. So we can, for example, plan a maintenance run to this plan that is going to cover all the things that are inside here, okay? Or we can do a maintenance run based on this location, and this extruder line is going to create one work order or many work orders for each of these assets. We can change this view, and we can see the functional location with assets, which is going to be the same because each location has an asset associated in this environment. And we can see it in asset types, so we can typify all the assets and say, okay, which are my vehicles? And we could have the vehicles categorized like this. Or we can see the asset only, and we can see each asset list here, and the ones that have asset inside or a child asset are associated with the asset as well. Okay. This is a really nice view to see all the relationship between them. But if you want to create a new asset, we can go here to all assets, and we are going to see the information. We can navigate as well from the asset view to the same form. For example, let's go to this asset, and we can navigate here. And we are going to reach the same form. And here we have the information of the asset. We can see here the asset number, the name, the type, which functional location is in this asset installed, the life cycle state, is this asset active, is stopped, is in repair, I don't know. We can set this up here, and we can change the asset state from this menu to active to scrap. These are the two only states that I have set up here. We can set up any state that we want. If we have identified the manufacturer, we can associate it here as the model as well. It's not necessary to the asset to work, but we can do it. So we can associate it, for example, warranties or something like that associated with the manufacturer, and the system is going to alert us based on that. We can also associate a fixed asset. If we track a fixed asset based on this one, we can associate this from here. The details, which date is active, this is populated automatically. If this asset is a replacement, which are the replacement date and the value that we are adding to this asset. Some notes with timestamp, attributes. We can associate attributes based on the asset type. So we can, for example, include, I don't know, the measurement. If we have like a furnace, which is the max temperature the furnace we have, and so on. So these attributes are created as a master in the system, and we can add the information we need. I can show you some. Depth, height, length, size, this is temperature, and so on. So these attributes is associated with the asset type. Okay. The vendor account, we can add it here. The warranty, as I say, we can track when start and when end, and this alert is going to be associated with this asset, and it's going to show us when it lasts. customer account, if this asset is installed in a customer, we can set it up here. The address the asset is located, the maintenance plans which this asset is associated. In this case, it doesn't have a functional location maintenance plans associated with this location, which the asset is installed, maintenance routes associated, and financial dimensions which are covered in the asset. Okay, if we want to create a new asset, I can do it from here. We can create a number, I don't know. So it's a computer. I don't know, I'm creating, or let's create a truck. Sorry. I can indicate here that is a truck, a vehicle. So when I associate this detail, it's going to inherit all of these configurations that I did beforehand for this asset type. So it's going to only accept repair and inspection job types. It's not, for example, going to accept a lubrication job type because I don't add it here. It's going to have a counter that is going to track the kilometers or miles that I use from this asset, these attribute types, the conditions, the manufacturers or models that are associated, and so on. Okay, so this is the first thing that is going to define my asset. Another thing is the manufacturer and model that we can populate here. And here we have the parent asset. If, for example, this is an engine and I want to associate it to a truck or a different vehicle, I could do it here and associate it, this parent asset based on this one. And finally, the functional location that I'm going to install this asset, or where is going to be used. In this case, I'm going to use this in the, I don't know, here, city water. I don't click it. And I'm going to hit OK. Okay, so as I set up the system, in this case, it's going to create the asset and it's going to activate it in the same time. But we could create a process where we can create the asset and then install it. For example, if we work with air conditioned units, we can purchase that air conditioning and then someone has to install it in a location. So that's the other way to do it, okay? Let's advance a little bit. So now we're going to see maintenance requests. To simplify the thing, maintenance requests are notifications that we can do as part of our process to say to the maintenance area, hey, this asset is broken, or I think this asset is taking high temperatures or is leaking oil or something like that. So I notify to the maintenance area that this asset needs to be inspected or needs to be repaired, okay? So let's create one in Dynamics. We go here to the workspaces. We have the maintenance request management. So we can enter here. We can see here in this workspace that we have 9 active maintenance requests, which are those. And we can create a maintenance request from this bottom. And we can filter and show some things related with this. if we create a maintenance request, which we are going to do right now, we can associate and create a new work order from here. So there are two ways to create maintenance requests. One is from this button or the formula of the form, and the other way is via the mobile application, okay? So if we go here, we can see this form when we can say, okay, we need a corrective maintenance or a breakdown request or a safety request for this maintenance request. These again are created beforehand. So based on the on this, each field is going to start populating. So we can have a description here and associate it to a functional location or an asset. And based on the selections, the service level is going to populate automatically, but I can change it. Okay, we can say, okay, this is critical because the asset is broken and is, I don't know, it's a hazard for workers that the asset is stopped. And then we can populate the faults. Okay, let's create some. If leaking oil. Sorry, we can associate an asset here. For example, the forklift number 2, service level. Let's keep it in, in medium. Fault symptom. Here we can associate the problem that we have to a fault, and we can say, for example, okay, let's put water leak, but it's not the same. Just to populate the field, we can associate to a fault area, which is, I don't know, mechanical area, and a fault type, which is, I don't know, catastrophic, damaging. Depend on the type we can associate the fault. If the asset is going to be downtime, we can register here and then click in OK. The started by is the user or the worker that is associated with the user that is creating this request. We can also create some notes here, and when we click OK, it's going to create one maintenance request. It's started by this worker. We can describe all the problem here. We can do a verification, and it's going to populate with our user. And we can also populate the maintenance shop for this asset to be repaired. Okay? Based on this, we can create a work order associated with this asset, or for example, update the lifecycle request of this maintenance request. When we create a request, someone from the maintenance area is going to create a work order or reject this request based on, I don't know, the verification that they have. This is a normal behavior. We can add notes and reject the request, or we can move to in progress. In this case, this is moving automatically when a related work order is created for this asset. Okay, so we're going to see this in a minute. The other way, let me see if we can see quickly. Okay, this is the mobile application. Okay, so the other way to create a maintenance request is via the application. So we click in the plus sign, request maintenance, which is the first button, and we can create an order here. Benefit of this is if we have QR codes or some kind of barcode on our asset, we can scan it with this icon here, and you will see, for example, it was in my keyboard now, that a QR or a barcode scanner is populated with a lighter and so on. But we can also search it here. For example, FL. This is one forklift. We're going to select here, and it's going to ask me for information. Okay, the description is broken forklift. We can populate, create notes, say the same thing, and we can add some photos from the app. We're going to take this photo to my mate. We're going to use it, and we can click in submit here, and as you can see, it's going to create this maintenance request into Dynamics. That's it. Maintenance request was successfully created and with the number 18. So we can go back to the maintenance request management, and we are going to see both of them, this and this one. So we can enter the created maintenance request from the mobile app, and we can see, for example, I don't remember where the pictures are, but some from here. And based on, here it is, in the image is here. So we can preview and see the image from the mobile application to the system, and we can create a work order from here, okay? So let's create the work order associated. So let's go here and the work order button. Here is going to populate these fields with the work order information, the request information that we have. And for example, we can here change something that we need to change and associated a job type. For example, this is going to be a repair, which is a corrective maintenance. We can associate a variant if we can modify this, or a trade. This trade is associated to the workers that are in this in the system. So if I need a mechanic to repair this, I'm going to hit here, and when I schedule the order, it's going to reserve the capacity of a mechanic. So here the work order gets created. I can access from this button here the number of the work order, or I could go from the work order management. And here in the work order management is going to see the work order 19 for the broken forklift. I'm going to open it, and as I don't have any worker associated, I need to schedule this order. So I'm going to go to dispatch or schedule. We can use any of these. So I'm going to go to dispatch. Dispatch is not taking capacity into account. So it's going to say, okay, Pierre, you need to do this right now. And I don't care if you have the time or not. So it's going to ignore everything. But in schedule, we can schedule based on the capacity of the workers. And so this is going to show us a different menu and schedule this. Okay, so this order is scheduled. So what I can do here is update to in progress. Okay, go to in progress and update this work order, or we can take it from the, I'm going to change something here. We can see it here on the application. The second one in the mobile app is the work order that we just created, so we can access from here and start working on this. Change the work order status to in progress, for example. Sorry. And this is going to change the work order, and we can advance to the jobs in the other part. And other prepare, we have an attachment, which is the previous photo that I shot on my camera. So we can, for example, say, okay, I spend 1 hour here, I consume some item here, and then I could complete this order or these jobs, and then change the work order status to. Okay, so we can do it from the mobile app or from the system. If I update it here, we can see that the work order is completed. The actual start and end is going to be populated because of the application. It's going to take the time if I allow it. And then we can see here in the journals that we have the hour that we posted on the application is going to be completed here, and we can post this journal to create this cost to the order. Okay, and once all of the journals are posted on the order, we can change finally the status to sorry, here to the finished order, which is that every journal is registered. Okay. One last thing that I want to show you here, aside of the work order processing, is the setup of the preventive maintenance. So if we want to set up preventive plans or maintenance plans, we can do it from here. In this case, I have a maintenance plan which allows me to create automatically a schedule and create automatically work orders for example, a generator. I'm going to associate these two generators, and I'm going to tell the system, okay, I need this to be once a year, which is an annual maintenance work order, and one each week, which is a weekly maintenance. So these two orders could have different lines depending of which maintenance job type I associated. So if I process this, the system is going to create for the generator different type of orders, one annual and one each year and one each week for these types of maintenance. Okay? We can associate it to the asset type, or functional locations if we have that in our system. When we schedule this maintenance, is going to create all of these lines, for example, with the generator. So we have the preventive maintenance for the generator with 2 lines is associated to this maintenance plan. and is the weekly order, and so on. So it's going to create each order based on that with a time frame that is associated to the plan, and we can create this order and create a new work order and schedule it with the maintenance worker. So I created automatically these two orders, one manually, not automatically. And if I go to the work orders again, I'm going to see these new two work orders created. I don't see it, sorry. Something happened in the middle, but that's the way that we can create and process a maintenance plan. This was to resume, but this is the way that we can create maintenance plan. We can do it also via counters if our asset has a counter and we are tracking that counter periodically or via IoT. This is going to generate automatically the plans and the work orders. Okay. So not to finish on time, and let's leave it here. There's a lot of things that we can do with this module, but obviously 1 hour is little time to finish with everything. Okay, so I don't know if I'm going to read some questions to finish the session.
Thank you there, Mariano. So what we'll do is that there are a few questions in the chat. So feel free to answer the questions in the chat. There is one question in the chat by MJ. And then in the Q&A, sorry, in the chat, sorry, in the Q&A, there's a question related to products, but in the chat, there is several questions, to be fair. So the question is in relation to Rick is asking, within maintenance plans, are there tools available to prevent an annual maintenance from being performed before certain dates, or will a user be able to complete an annual maintenance today and the next one next week?
Now you have these periods that you create. So you complete one start date, and you associate it to a calendar, and you say, okay, I need to create one order each week or one order each year. So you could plan one annual maintenance and the other ones each week. What will happen, for example, is that at one date, the annual and the weekly maintenance could be performed the same day. So you have a parameter there that if you hit that problem, you can only leave the annual maintenance instead of the weekly maintenance, and it's going to create one of those. Okay. So I'm going to read the next one. So some features of field service are also included here in SD. Does someone have experience of D365 field service and supply chain and can tell me if it makes sense to have both applications, and if yes, what's the better use to FS and is better in SD? Okay, I'm going to share you a link. The Murray Fifth did the integration between field service and asset management, and it's not an easy one. It's a complicated thing to do, but it's possible. And the difference is the field service application has more features than the asset management application. So you could benefit from that if you use both applications. But I'm going to share you that link because it's really is good what they did with this application. In terms of licensing, the EAM application is included in Dynamics SCM. Yes, it's included, but it has a cap of number of assets. I don't remember exactly, but I can share it with you. I think that is below 100 assets is going to be free, and if you exceed that that licensing or that number of assets is going to charge something, but I'm going to share it with you. And the last one says, what kind of license need the technicians to use EAM app? They don't need license to use the application. It's included in the licensing, but you have to create the user and the worker associated with the app and give permissions to use the app. Okay.
There is one more question. Sorry, Mariano, by Nicolo that I missed earlier on. It's Nicolo's asking, I would like to know if the customer can sign the work order in the EAM app when they receive the maintenance.
No, you don't have a signed process in the asset management app. You could add it, or another way is to use field service, which has this possibility to sign orders. So in the standard application, you don't have the signed process. Heather in the chat said FS and SCM share a lot of features, but each one specializes in one area. Field service is intended is answering some question, okay? Because if the customer is intensive in field technician route tracking, the commitment with the customer, that customer knows when the technician goes and what time he arrives. In case become work orders, I recommend using field service. Yes, that's the main difference. Field service has some feature with planification and a lot of things that you could benefit using field service instead of the application. But also you have to measure cost versus benefit, because field service has a different licensing than SCM. So that's the main thing to think about it.
Yeah, and just to wrap up on that final point, because I think it is definitely a topical issue in relation to field services, asset management, and supply chain. There is an overlap. Just as in any ERP, there will be overlap on certain functionalities, and the most important thing is to understand that when it comes to inventory and asset management, then that would be mastered with inside of finance and supply chain from a product master perspective, and for the purpose of transactions and life cycle of that particular asset. That is the important thing to know. When it comes to do with scheduling, then that's when field services come. So when it comes to provisioning those assets for the purpose of scheduling the engineers, then that's where field service links in. But definitely the master would belong within finance and supply chain. And your right supports that. But thank you once again, Mariano, for covering this. Now, Mariano, you have a special guest you want to introduce next.
Yes. So now we're going to dive into warehouse management. This topic is going to be covered by Anna. Anna is an excellent consultant of supply chain. She knows everything about supply chain and mostly finance as well. So it's a pretty broad consultant. Now he's working in another area, but she has a lot of experience implementing Dynamics 365. It's a new speaker, so let the leave to her. So I'm going to let you start, Anna, whenever you want.
Thank you, Mariano. You listen to me? It's okay? Yeah? Okay.
Yeah. I can listen.
Yeah. Okay, I share my screen now. Modo moderador. Ventana. Wow. Okay. Okay, I turn off my camera because in Chile they have some problems with the internet sometimes. Okay. So welcome to this season. I'm really thankful with Mariano for this opportunity. And in this case, we talk about warehouse management. Mariano tells you I'm working on Dynamics for 8 years and more because I know him for the Dynamics 4.0. So this is too much time. And I work with a focus in project management, accounting, and supply chains because I'm an accountant, public accountant. So it's really strange my knowledge about Dynamics. So let's start. This is our agenda, but it's part of the time. So block to block to see these topics. So beyond inventory management, what is warehouse management and how does it work? A lot of people think that warehouse management is just about tracking inventory, but it's only part of the story. Inventory management simply tells you what you have and what it is, but what is warehouse management? It's all about movement efficiently and optimization. Think of this way. The inventory management is like keeping a list for everything the store has, making sure products are accounted or the store somewhere and part of the store. But WMS is about organize and optimize how products are received, stored, and moved inside the warehouse. Thinking about Walmart or a market in your country. If they're using inventory management, they could receive goods without a strict place, just register them in the system. But with a structured WMS, the system will allow the perishable products like meat or daily will be received like in a fortune section or in the cosmetic sections. No, they will give the process, ensure this product goes straight to the cold storage and to maintain the cold chain. So the WMS does is define workflows. What is the begin? Where is the finish for this process? Prevents human errors because the works say exactly what you need to do in the system. And if you want to change and put some other number in the application, it's impossible. Okay, it's impossible. And they use technology like barcode scanner, QR codes, and RFID, everything to make it more faster and more accurate this process. So that's what we try to explore today. Is a huge model. So let's start. The PPT, they have some topics about my speech, and I wanted you take these images. So what is the difference for inventory management and WMS? And this is the core for the presentation. Okay, so what is WMS in Dynamics 365? It's a model. It's management and optimize the warehouse operation, including receiving, storage, picking, and shipping. But more important thing is works across functional manner. You can see WMS in production, sales order, procurement, and quality orders. Is every part. So it's not only I made some configurations. Is it working? No. You take this way and you are take this way. It's everything WMS now. The first thing we wanted to talk is understand the storage dimensions, because for maybe if those are familiar with dynamics, the concept of inventory dimensions is nothing new. We know there are dimensions for item, storage, and tracking, but when it comes about WMS, the real star is the storage dimension. Why? Because they are truly enable control over how, where, and under what conditions the products are stored with warehouses. Thanks to this dimension, the system can be defined storage rule, automate receiving and shipping process, automate space usage if you make this configuration, obviously, and ensure the inventory is in the right place and the right time. So the bigger dimension in this case is obviously all the time is the entity, but the second one is the site and defines the general company location. Some companies have one site per country or one site for regions. Chile have, I don't remember the last modification. I think it's 17 regions. I don't remember. Yeah, but one site per regions or per plant or distribution center is part of the decision of the company. But in the site, you have the warehouse, and the warehouse represents the physical warehouse in the site. You can have a different warehouse in the site and at different configurations. Maybe a company want a main warehouse with WMS and other without this application because it's not necessary. It's like if you have a warehouse for maintains things or service or different things, maybe they don't need to use a warehouse and application and works in that place. But the main warehouse with WMS is okay. And then we have the location, and the location is the exact position of the product in the warehouse. It can be a rack, a shield, an island, or pin zone. But the important thing is this location exists in the warehouse. Sometimes I see companies, they use our creativity and say, oh, imagine in that place you have the position F1, 2, 3, and don't have nothing. No, you don't see a rack, do not see a place or a destination place. Please, the location is real. It's real. Okay. The inventory status indicates if the product is available and because in a quarantine or damaged or received. And this is one of my favorite dimensions because it's controlling the inventory flows, ensuring there's only usable products and included in a sales order or in transfer and outbound process. Sometimes companies have a problem with the customers. It's nothing about WMS, but and say, no, my customer needs this inventory, but do not have a sales order. So companies create a fake sales order to make a reservation. With this dimension, you don't need to do this. You only create inventory status and chain. That is all. And you don't have a fake document in your system. And finally, we have the listen plate. It's a group track storage units like pallets, containers. In farmer companies is a bin. You know, this large in white box with 400 kilograms of avocados or apples or lemons. And this is a listen plate. It's a unit. It's a whole unit. And in Dynamics have a unique number. So it's critical for WMS. And the demo, you can see that. So for an item to work with WMS, all this concept is part of the storage group dimension. You see my item, the C3O self-repairing golden allow structure, it's part of the demo. have a dimension group named where, and is active the site, the warehouse, location, inventory, license plate, and most important thing is marked in yes, the use warehouse management process. If an item is not assigned to this type of configuration, the system will not be able to create works or direct storage location, because for him it's only a standard inventory. Okay, so the item they need this storage dimension, and for the other sides they have inventory reservation hierarchies. And the important in this part is review. The structure of this hierarchy is the core structure for WMS, and it's only one: is site, warehouse, inventory status, location, license plate, in that order. And if the item requires batch, the dimension must be placed after the warehouse and not before, please, not before, because it's not working. So when you release the order, they don't know how is the order to take the reservations. So remember, the item have the storage dimension group and the reservation hierarchy. Other topics we need to talk is about the warehouse layout. I told you the location there is necessary to exist physically in the warehouse. It's not a virtual warehouse. No. And this is the first step. Setting the warehouse is define this layout, and this critical because determines both the physical movements and the inventory and the systematic processes in the system. There's not a single formula for the perfect layout, but the common sense says a key role in this case. The design should ensure the products more efficiently for the receive area. You can see in the left side, the other right, the left side, and put it in the storage is in the center of this layout, and the unbound for the unbound process in the right side, these images. So we talk about some displays. Like receiving area, entry is the entry point where the inventory is validated and registered. It's obviously when you have a purchase order is arrived to the company, you with the receive order, you have a track, you download the things, and it's taking this place. And this place is the inbound staging. And the inbound staging is a temporary area where the products are organized before the storage. Like put a new label, maybe open the box, maybe you sell iPhones and you don't want to have this inventory in a box. It's individually, you put a new label and everything you need. And the Q area, obviously. Then we have the place for storage. The bulk normally is a rack for large volume palletized products, and the piece picking area is a small location for high turnover items, individual pickings, and maybe a case in the metal for all the iPhones with camera and everything in this place maybe stay here, okay? And finally, in the right side, we have the space for the unbound process. Like the unbound staging is previously to load the shipment to the truck. The store staging, when you made a pick in this area, you leave them here, you prepare in the packing area the box, and you go and leave in the bound staging. It's like that's imagine you have automatically systems, like when you sometimes bought something in Amazon and you remember these machines is part of a warehouse. This is a storage staging. To take the piece, the robot here, and leave them here in a storage staging, and you have the packing area to make the final packing and unbound the staging. this is the warehouse layout, more standard layout. Some companies don't have the space and have maybe the receiving area here, and down here the trucks, but all the time have these spaces really clear in the warehouse. The warehouse in Dynamics, and they need to have ingest the use management processes. So in this moment is the Dynamics made the match. The item has the storage dimension group with yes in warehouse management process, and the warehouse, when you move this inventory, have marked in yes or enable yes the use warehouse management process. So okay, this is a warehouse process. They need this much. So if the item is moving in warehouse without warehouse management, it's okay. It's moving on a traditional system. But in this case, this is a 24 warehouses is with WMS. So everything is with works. And you know, like Dynamics is for everything. I have 4 concept news in warehouses management. One is work, location directives, waves, and loads. The work is the heart of this or the warehouse management, because represent a specific task within the warehouse, such as receiving, storing, picking, moving. They say, okay, for this sales order with this item, I need receiving that area and put away in this place. That is a work. But the work, they only know what you need to do. Okay, pick and put. But have another option. The other concept in display is location directives. It's a group that so the location directives tell the system where should we store and picking from. They give the rules for the items, like the example in Walmart. If you receive a gelato, the location directives say, oh, no. The gelato have a fixed place in refrigerated in place A, tanto. It's not part of the furniture. So the location directives say to the work, okay, you are picking from this place and let them in another place. The work for himself is not work. It's not work. They need the location directives. If the location directives are not properly configured, the system won't know which location to assign. Leading our heroes, delay operation, how to say, it's a chaos. Okay, it's really sensible part of the configuration. They work at the location directives because they made in the warehouse, you have a person, employee with a dispositive in your hands, and they can pick the product. They don't have a Dynamics or an access to the computer for change this problem. So it's really critical, this part of the configuration. But for the unbound process, we need 2 more concepts, the waves and the loads. The waves group multiple work orders in a single process to improve efficiently to the unbound process. They can processing each order individually in the sales order directly or into the batch for many orders in the same times, minimizing the necessary movements and reducing picking time. So if it, like example, if a warehouse receives 100 sales orders a day, you have the option to go to the sales order and put release order, release order, release order, release order. But with the wave, the system groups and got a single way of release everything, and what per maybe customer or destinations and different waves and different works for this type of configuration. In the next step, we see this configuration. And finally, the loads. And the loads is organized the picking into the shipment unit. You say, okay, this is the loads. How to say? It's like when you buy in AliExpress, you have a box with different boxes in there. You hear, oh, quite efficiently. That that's warehouse works. The load to say to the system, okay, and in Chile buy 5 things in the same destination. So they have a wave and then made a one load and one packet for me in Chile. Okay, so it's part. But this concept, they need to be configured in the system. And this configuration, they call them templates. And the first is the work template. I know it's too much information. I know. But when you use it and try again and again, you understand how it works. In this case, the example have a sales order and the line say pick and put. So you say, okay, when a sales order, I create a work for sales order, every sales order have a pick, maybe a rack or pieces picking area, a put and so place in the outbound staging. You see here, the work templates maybe for sales order, raw material picking, finished good, purchase order for every process. And the location directives, they say, what is the place for this work is working? So now, yeah. So you have for one side the work and for the side the location directives. And you see in the location directives, the work type is type pick, put, counting, adjustment. So the work is called the pick and the put for the location directives. Okay, if it's a gelato again, the pick of the gelato is in the refrigerated area, the put maybe is in a outstaging in refrigerated. Yeah. This is places with a warehouse in a very lowest temperature. Yeah. So it's a crossover template, the worker template, and the location directive. So if a worker receives a picking order in the example, the work template determines the product to need picked, yes, because they need, okay, one article, type item, and the location specifies exactly which shelf or zone to retrieve them. Okay, there's like a one, it's the same thing. These two part of the configuration is clear. Okay, if you don't have a good configuration in location, I told you the work is created, but the location is not working and you don't know what happens in that place. Obviously, if the location directives are not properly configured, the system may not find the valid location and you have errors in the plant, in the warehouse, and again, chaos. The way template is more simply. They have information about the creation, if it's automated, if it's process of releasing the warehouses, if automate the wave release, continue the wave or a batch, how is order, or what is an order or prioritizing or grouped by customer or destination priority, if manually or automatically. For example, you have multiple sales order are created for same delivery zone. The wave template groups this order into a single wave. The single wave, maybe and a bigger warehouse to say, execute the wave. Okay, Chile is one wave, Argentina other way, Nigeria other way, and on and on. You can say, okay, for every 30 minutes, I need this execute the wave. It's part of this configuration. And give you some flexible about this. Okay. And for other play, we have the log templates. The log templates is work for defining how the products are organized in the shipping, how orders are grouped in the load. Like the example I give you about AliExpress, when I buy something, and they say, oh, it's a load for Anita. So these 5 items in this sales order is part of this load in one packing. That is the laws works. And with another model, the transportation is very important because use the load, the high, the deep, the max, the weight, and the if a container is a cold container, it's other conversation about the load. In this case, it's only you need to make groups, nothing more, in this season. No less important, we have the unit sequence group. The unit sequence groups give some information to the wave and all this process, the picking. They say it's not about unit measuring. The sequence group allow the system to prioritize the most efficient unit to storage or picking. If you receive a pallet, you sell some pallet. No. The number of items in this size order is a pallet plus 3 units additionally. Oh, maybe take a pallet from this place and 3 units for the piece and picking area. That type of sequence give you. And it's very, and as how to say, it's another conversation. Example, we have each part, a box, and pallet. So the first thing is taking a unit, a box, a pallet. And for grade, when you have a volume to sales and distribution, this is really important to thinking. And now we talk about process. I know it's too many information, templates, but when you do it in the system, it's more easily to understand. So the demo is about the inbound process. The inbound process is everything is come to the warehouse, maybe a purchase order, a return sales order, receive a transfer for another warehouse, another site, including when the quality control is finished, they have a inbound process when returned to the warehouse. But we do it with the purchase order because it's a classical inbound process. So the purchase order needs to create it, approve it in the system, define what is the item, the quantity, the delivery, and the price. And then we have with the dog arrival, and because of receiving the warehouse dog, obviously in an inbound staging because it's the first place to receiving area in our warehouse, a layout. When everything is okay, in an unbound staging, you maybe put a new label or prepare the inventory to move it in the final position. And this movement is called push put away. And for, again, location directed save is part of the bulk storage or the piece area or have a fixed ubication in the warehouse. And finally, the invoice registration. Okay. This process have, as you see, 2 works. The purchase receive and the purchase put away. And the case of the unbound process, in this case, is sales order creation, but if you made a transfer for another warehouse, it's an unbound. To the finished good in a manufacturing process, you have the finished product in your location, and you send this inventory to the finished and so the sector to the sector that finished good, that is unbound process. The inventory to check for the raw materials warehouse for the manufacturing process, that is an inbound process. But we talk about sales order because they have many steps. The sales order is created, is confirmed, and we need a reservation. Without reservation, the web is not working. Then release the warehouse. Here is working the template, the web template, and then we put the pickup, put the staging, and finally the shipping. This is our unbound process. It's really standard. Some companies have a different process, or maybe quality control in the middle of this unbound. But it's part of another conversation. So go directly to the demo. Here, share. Okay. You can see the dynamics in your screen, Mariano?
We can see, but we see the chat, the Teams screen.
Okay. And now?
Yes, now we do.
Yeah, now? Yeah, okay. So, we duplicate. It's really useful with this case. So, our items is part of information management, release products, and is begin with FF because it's for far away items. So the item 1 have this tracking inventory group active, and yes, the warehouse is active, and the hierarchy is correctly site, warehouse, item, status, location, and listen plate. And this item don't have a tracking dimension group with batch active. Okay, so that's the case. That is the configuration for these items. So let's do it. I can really this bar start. Okay. So we go to the procurement and sourcing, all push orders, and first steps. Create a purchase order. New one. Our vendor is Camino Industry. It's a really higher technology. So it's important to have a good vendor for these products. We bought this item. How many? 10. And the item have the price configured in the release product. And now the other item. 10. And now we confirm. I'm really fun to see every time the transactions for the inventory transaction, because they give you an idea what happened when with your transaction. Here, transactions. The inventory is receipt type ordered. We don't have inventory, is only a good idea. Sometimes is come in our warehouse. And the time is passed, and okay, we need to receive. This is the application in Dynamics for warehouse management. You can use an application in PDA or another type of cell phones included. Okay, so this is a flow for inbound because it's coming our warehouse, and push, just receive. The first information is the push order number. Ta-da! Is 200 exist. Copy to paste. Set. The item FF001. The quantity 10. I can receive less for 10, no more than 10. No, I can. Yeah, I can receive more than 10 if the pushes or they have this political. The policy says, yeah, I allow to receive more than the pushes only have out confirmed, but in this case it's the same number. Okay, it's working. It's complete the work. And now made the question if you want to receive another item. And yes, I received this one. And only 6. Accept. And the work is complete. So I'm out for these basis. We go into this inventory now. The purchase order here in inventory transactions is registered. Okay, it's part of our inventory. It's a physical state or status, but is in our warehouse. And if we go to here to the product release, management inventory, on-hand inventory, they give listen play for our inventory, and now is a location receive. Receive is our inbound staging. It's not a full location. It's not the final location. That's the reason it's not a physical available for this inventory, because they wait you finish the work for the put away inventory. So now I go into the menu and inbound, thinking our employee put a new level, open the box and change the box if have a problem, and it's okay. Now they want to put in the final position. So this process is called a put away, and the push is put away, and we need a listen plate. Ta-da! Okay, tell me what plate. Set. Okay, the item is an location received. There's the number of listens, and this is the same number of the listens to the putting and the fill on the line. I go to accept and say okay. I put it in the FL003 position. Accept. Okay. I'm refresh inventory, and here's FL003, and the inventory now is physical, available, physical. I do the same with other item. On-hand inventory, 6 units in receipt area. This is the license plate and physical reservation because it's not a place for taking inventory for sales order or transfer. It's a temporary place. So we need to move to the final position. So this is a license plate and I do it the same. Put away. Obviously you have a label, okay? You beep. So yeah, my copy paste is beep. You do label. Receive, okay. Okay, listo. This is for FI 004 position. Okay, accept, and it's complete. When here, okay, now it's finally work. The final position 6 and is available. The last things to do here is inventory, transactions is registered. It's not a physical inventory. It's really important for cost for the person like me. We are accountant. They like the inventory in the right price, and the financial price is the best price for inventory. So where we stay, invoice, we may, please go fast. Update the match status. I give a number of invoice, and now post. In inventory, transactions is purchased. That is the good state for an inventory receipt, the physical and financial status. Now, we'll create a sales order to see the inbound process. And they have more steps, but simple steps. So all the sales order, new. Our customer is Navutech, and the warehouse is 24. Warehouse have the WMS activate, so okay. Now, lines, item number, FF, and they only need 2. And the price is part of the configuration, so it's put automatically. And 3 bump this, and have a price, yes. Save. Now, we need to confirm, okay, confirm now. This is our sales order. If I execute the release to warehouse or the wave, is nothing happen because the inventory is not, they don't have a reservation. Okay, you can configure it and automatically. In my case, I do it manually because I don't know how many persons in this dynamic now, and I change some configuration and I kill the other presentation. So it's manually in consideration for him. So inventory, reservation, reserve a lot. Inventory, reservation, reservable. Okay, now we can release the warehouse. So click and release, and this is the wave. The wave's processing, and we have a wave with this number. They create a shipment, and everything is okay because you don't have any X or red line in the process. How to know the work is created? Work details here. The work ID 72. They say you pick this item in this location and this item in this location and put in the bay door. The bay door is our inbound staging place. Okay, three pieces here, and it's executed message. Okay. Okay, we duplicate, and in the model, the warehouse model, you can see every laws, works, and ways we created. Here, warehouse management, all work. Maybe you don't have the sales order in your hands, only have the number of work created, and here you have, and show the close and show the running works. So the first step is pick. You go to application, and this is an outbound process, sales picking. Okay, the name of the work. The person maybe have a label and they make pick. Okay, perfectly. You have the first item, the FF001, number of the plate. The number of the plate is you send in this shipment. So obviously you have a label, well, the number of the plate, but I don't have the label. So I search manually here on an inventory, and this one. I use this one. Copy and try imagining beep for the label set. And look at this. You need a new number of the lesson plate. And the reason is because the inventory is not part of the lesson plate in that place in a storage rack or the pieces picking area. This is a new one. So I use normally the number of the sales order. 100 set. And now they want an item 2, but before this, we go to the work. And refresh. It's closed. The first work is closed. Now is in process the second work, and that is in process because it's open, the work. So now for the second one, on an inventory, this one, and lesson plate are the same lessons, except multiple items, and is finished. If I go to the work, disappear, but show the close. It's now so. Here, close is close the pick, and the put. So where is my inventory now? Now my inventory is in a physical available position because they need another process. Is the shipments. I confirm is everything is okay. Okay, I received this. I have my things here, so I confirm the shipment, and the shipment is shipped. Shipped, and the sales order I close is not, and the sales order here, Nabutage. The inventory is not more in Dynamics because it's picked. It's picked, it's reservation. We have a reservation. So now the last steps is some country you print a packing slip, another directly to make the invoice. And for the picket quantity, okay. And inventory transactions is sold. So the inventory is not here, is go to the only for now in available in the inventory for these items, and that is all you need to warehouse process. So this is how I have prepared for you today. And if you have any questions, please to make in the chat. Okay.
We have one question in the chat. It's Stella asked, can you also set the order picking like FIFO, like first in, first out, etc.?
It's part of the model of the item. It's not part of the WMS. The item is working for FIFO. They work and everything is FIFO. So they give you the FIFO or LIFO or whatever you want. So it's part of the model of the configuration of the items. And every time it's taking the FIFO if it's a picking. It's part of the logic of the configuration.
Okay, amazing. I don't know if we have any other question.
Okay. No more questions?
Thanks, Anna.
Okay.
I think no.
Final words.
Thanks, Anna, for
okay. The final words, please. Just to take thank you for you, Mariano, and thank you for all the audience for the patience. I'm really nervous. It's my first time in here, so I know I speak too much. I'm really faster. I try to speak as slowly as possible. So, so thank you for the opportunity, and Joe, enjoy the rest of the bootcamp.
Thank you, Anna.
You're mute.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate you. Thank you. Fantastic. Wow. Thank you, Anna. So that's obviously a very popular topic. Mariano, would you agree? Warehouse management is always, it's a dark art. It's definitely a very great topic to kind of begin the kind of the boot camp with. Mariano. So Mariano, do we want to proceed to introduce our next speaker now?
Yes. So for this next session, we have Florencia, which is going to talk about traceability add-in, which is a new add-in, a new application, which is part of the supply chain management. To present Florencia is working several years with Dynamics as well. Is part of is a solution architect and is part of the supply chain team, and has a lot of implementation behind her back. So let's leave it to her, and so she can start the speaking.
Okay, let's see if she's online.
Yeah,
Okay.
she is. That's it.
Yes, and I'm mute now. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Well, I'm so excited to stay here and share insights about traceability. My name is, as Mariano said, is Maria Florencia Cornicelli, and I'm solution architect. And okay, I will start sharing my screen. Or maybe I can, Mariano, share my screen. I don't know why.
I think you need to have
Yes.
moderator permissions.
Yes, I
Could you
need.
help me, Raz, with that?
Okay.
Okay, yes, I can. Yes, perfect. So I will present first. I present me, Raz. Thank a lot. I love my Lego. This is a better version of me. Okay. Now you can see.
Yeah, we can.
Perfect. So, well, traceability, it's really vital in today's complex supply chains. It provides clarity and accountability across all the steps and from raw material and finished goods. So this topic for me is really important because can help us to when we are dealing with maybe inconvenience or defects in our production order, how to understand what happened there. So what we have for the agenda today, we have an overview for traceability, and we have a demo with integration with PFE, that it means production floor execution. We are going to see how to integrate with the API, that is a public API, to when we work with another system, and we are going to take a look to the roadmap. So yes, we have a problem solved because with traceability adding supply chain lets you collect business and industry specific data across the product value chain, which can be used for regulation audits. This is a big topic and important, and compliance process. But beyond all these benefits, it also can be used for business objectives, efficiency, resiliencies, responsiveness, and sustainability. Here, we can see a flow that has all the process for supply chain, and also we can see two different lines. The light blue line is show us the genealogy event, and the yellow is for the custody event. So we can see here how the cross every step that maybe we purchase our components, maybe we have the components in our warehouse, then it's part of the production, quality management, and then at the end it came for our customers. For the genealogy event, it's important to know that, okay, I'm going to track who were the vendor that I purchased maybe the component. In this case, we can see here a type cover. The type cover has a tracking dimension that in case is a batch number. This batch number is a unique number when I can detect that, okay, this is this batch number for my tab cover. This type cover is also part of the product that maybe has another component. So if a customer, maybe, I hope no, but if we have a claim for a customer, it's important that, okay, what did you buy? You buy this product with the batch number of this product. I can track which were the component and see all this data. In the next picture, we can see how it integrates traceability with supply chain management. We can see in this session how it interact with the procurement for purchase order, the goods received, and we are going to see with the production order, also with the picking list and they consume the raw materials, and then when we receive the finished goods. So how the data flows. And here we have two options. If we are working with Microsoft Dynamics 365, we have a backend job, and the information will flow for our application traceability. And if we are working with external system with a public API, we can connect to this application. And of course, traceability will give us a lot of ability to do, for example, the forward to the finished good and backward to the raw materials and search against the geology information as bill bump. Maybe that also the ability to log custody activity, as we saw in the picture before, per raw material and finished goods, and all the integration that it has with different modules on Dynamics 365. So we are going to analyze and see and think a business case, and then we are going to jump to the system. So maybe you are implementing, or maybe you have a company that produce cell phones. Okay, and of course you purchase all the components, and maybe you create a production order, and of course you have your finished goods that is a cell phone, and you distribute to so different sales points, I don't know, and they, of course, a client buy that cell phone, but suddenly a customer calls us and said, okay, I have a problem. The battery is not working properly. So what we are going to do? We are going to create an incident, an issue that is referral for the battery, and we are going to call maybe the quality engineer, Marian in this case, and we say, okay, we have this problem and we have to see what happened, and we have to track how was all the production related to this battery. This battery is part of the cell phone, so it's a component. So we're going to do and see how it works. So I'm going to stop to share my screen, and we're going to jump to the system. That this is the really fun part. And as Mariano said before, this application is not into the ERP. We are going to download, and we are going to maybe configure, do the setup that it requires. So when we download, and of course we enable in future management all the features that is related to traceability, we are going to be okay in this part. We are going to see first in the application. So we are going to see that for the start, we are going to find two short videos that they are really helpful. And for the setting, we are going to set the activity. What is the activity? Well, the activity is what I am going to track. So I can see here, for example, for good receipts, I have an activity code, an activity type, and it's going to all related to purchase. And for this company, I'm going to put here down. Okay, and this is the check that, okay, I'm going to track, or maybe I'm not tracking. And also I have here for production, I got the good receipt for the consumption, and I create several different activities that I want to track. Then we can see here if we want to exclude a product because maybe we don't want to track everything. So we can't filter for the company as we saw before, or maybe in the company we don't want to track something, and we can include here in the setup. And also here we can see for the system that we have a net point, and it is the point to connect with the API also. Finally, we have here the genealogy trace when we are going to maybe take a look, maybe, I don't know, something, and the system bring a drill down with if a serial number, is a VAT number, asset number, lot number, and it's going to give us information that we are looking for. This is a really easy setup for this application. Now we are going to jump to Dynamics 365. When we have traceability here, we have to ensure have few things. It's not really hard. So we are going to go to inventory management, and I'm going to collapse sold and set up inventory and warehouse parameters. And here in the bill of materials, I have this check on yes, that is enable track components. And of course, it will appear a new sequence number here that the product component match ID. We are going to see that sequence number in action, but it is important to know that you have to create and assign a sequence number for here. another setup is for the side of production control. Here, we are going to set up manufacturing execution and configuration floor execution. Here, if I go to my applications, we are going to have different actions that I have to available for my production floor execution. This is the action that I have to be ensured that it's in my application for production floor execution, because it's the icon button that I'm going to use to track this component in that application. So now that we see the setup, we are going to time to know what about our product. So I'm going to go to the module of product information management and the release product. For the release product, I will search this cell phone that has this problem that I have to resolve. This is the one. Okay, and I'm going to analyze a little bit. So it's important that, okay, this is my finished product. So if I go to the engineer part of my product and I go to the boom versions, I'm going to see that I have two versions. This is the longest and this is the shorter, because in this demo I will use the short one. Also, as part of a production, this product has a root and has two version 2. One is the longest and this is the shorter. This is also for the demo because it will be really long demos. Okay, then as a finished product also have another configuration, because this is maybe the first product for the company that I'm going to sell. So I have to be ensured that I have a safety stock, because if the customer requires this cell phone, I have to have the stock. So I'm going to start talking about what is the item coverage. It has an item coverage. This topic, it's related master planning, and Mariano is going to go deeper in this topic later, but I will give you an introduction so you can start to learn about it. So this has an item coverage for 40 eaches, and if I go to the net requirement, I can see that on hand I have 30. So if I run my master planning, the system will suggest this planned production order to complete that coverage. When I run this planning optimization, I use this check that include all boom levels. What it means? This. It means if I run it for this specific item, and this item has a boom material or it has a formula, it means that the system will search all the components and will suggest, if it's necessary, also, I don't know, maybe a purchase order. So if I see my components here and I do a click on the processor, and I go to the processor, this release product, and go to my plant and the net requirement, I can see that, okay, this planification, it's not only impact on my finished good, it's also in my component. So I can see here a plant purchase order, and here is where I'm going to consume in the boom line from the production order. So once we understand all this, we are going to acquire our components. So we are going to jump to procurement and sources. And we are going to go to planned purchase orders. Here, we are going to see that I have 3 lines and it is one for each component, but I'm going to group by vendor. So I'm going to confirm and group by vendor, because I don't want one purchase order per line. I want the 3 lines in just only one purchase order. So I will click OK. And now the system creates my purchase order. I'm going to look my purchase order. This is my vendor. Okay, and I can see here that I have this approved open or purchase order. Okay, so I will look inside this purchase order and I will confirm that it's the normal process or step to go through purchase order. So also I'm going to start to look how is going the different transaction or different status from this purchase order. So I will go to inventory management, inquiry and report, and in this column number, I will put here the number of my purchase order. Okay, so here we're going to see that we have already ordered our components. I'm going to bring to the first column this batch number, okay, because we are going to receive. And for receive, these three components that I need for do my production order, first, before I post it, I need to update the lines. And it is because these different components have a tracking dimension that is the batch number. And if I do not complete this information, the system will not allow to receive these components. So I have to update each line. I will add the registration and then confirm. Okay, and this is the new batch number that I'm going to receive. I go back and I will select my battery and I will update line and I will add and confirm. And now we are going to the last one, this memory, update, okay, and confirm. In this case, of course, I'm using a setup that in this component, the system is assigned automatically the batch number. It's not mandatory. Maybe you or your customer want to use the batch number for the vendor, or maybe manually assigned one batch number, and everything it's okay. But the important thing that you have to complete this information because it will be mandatory to complete. So now the order received will be registered, okay? And we can see here all the different batch numbers that were assigned to our components. Now that I have everything registered, I can post my product receipt. And when this finished to post it, my component will pass from registered to received. Okay, so I have now all my components on hand to go through the production order. So I will go to production control and I will go first for my planned production order because I have already planned. And I will pick this production order that is for my cell phone and I will confirm. I click OK. And I go to all production orders. And now I can see that the suggestion for the system that it was a planned production order now is a production order in firm. And the status that I received this production order is scheduled. This means, and this is a setup, if I say that when I confirm something is planned in I don't know, in this status, is because I configure it like that. But the real status or the difference process that goes through my production order first is estimated. So if I start in the schedule status, it means that the system for already estimated this production order. The estimated step or process is really important because if I go in manage cost, view calculation is the step when the system estimates cost. That is the first step for the production order. And also, it depends on the setup, but also in this step here, if I go to production details and I pick my component, I can see that these all components are already reserved. So in the estimated process, maybe we can define that, okay, in this step, you have to reserve the different component for my production order. I will check all the dimensions of my reservation and see, and okay, we are going to look that we have the processor with this batch number, and if I go to my purchase order, I see, okay, what I just received, it's part of my production order. And we can check every line if we want. And if we don't want to do that, we can also pick the production number and go to inventory transactions. In the column of number, we can put there our production order, and we can see that we have already ordered and these 3 lines already reserved. And we notice also that my finished good, it doesn't have yet a batch number assigned because, I don't know, the company in this case wants to assign manually. So I'm going to go to my production order. I'm going to assign the batch number here. First, before to assign, I have to create this batch number. This is a really important topic. You can't assign something that is not part of the master of batch number for that product. So I create, and now I assigned. I'm going to save the information, and if I go to inventory transactions and I do a refresh, I can see that, okay, it's already assigned. So what's going on next? I have already estimate, I schedule all my jobs, and I'm going to release. As we see before in the Anita, that show was warehouse management, when she released something, it means, okay, if I'm using warehouse management, it means that the system is going to send all the works related to that. And if we are working on the production order and we have a route, it's going to release the jobs that are related to that route. So I'm going to release. We have here the general setup, and it's already released. If nothing happened or nothing changed here, okay, in transaction, but if I go to production control, and if I go manufacturing execution and jobs and activity and goes to production shops, in the status released, I will do a refresh, and I can see here that I have 2 released jobs related to this production order. So now we are going to jump to production floor execution. So for sign in, I'm going to use my batch ID. The batch ID, you can find it in human resource. In this case, is for this employee, and you in the general setup, you can see which is the batch ID. Now I'm going to look forward for the job for a particular production order because I have a lot of jobs pending here. So I'm going to look and I see, okay, I have these 2 jobs and I'm going to start. I'm going to start with the expect quantity that I have to produce. So I started and it's okay. If we see, come back to the page of the production control, I can see that if I do a refresh, the status is started. But this started, it's only that we start the production. It doesn't mean that that we have already a picking list journal posted, nothing like that. It's that the job for this production order is started. And if I see, I go here and I do here and I refresh, we don't have more release job. I have to search the job for the status release, and they are both in progress. So I will come back to the production floor execution. I will sign again, and I will look my 2 jobs that already start. Okay, but I will pick just 1 job because in this job, the company defines that I have to track my materials here, okay? So if we look to the right side, we are going to see this icon that I show you in the setup, that is track component. So I will click on. And what the system is asking me to do. First, scan a batch or serial number of the product. So, okay, in this case, this is my product, this is the finished good. I'm going to paste and copy and paste here, and we press enter. And okay, success, you have linked your finished good. Now the system is telling me, okay, you scan a batch or serial number of a component. So I will go back and I will copy for my processor, and I'm here and paste, and I'm going to link. Perfect. With the memory RAM, I will do the same. I will stay here. Okay. It's already linked. And the last one, that is the battery. And before I post the battery, it's important to know that here we have a validation. So in this step, if I maybe, I don't know, maybe scan something wrong or write something wrong and I press enter, the system is going to say to me that no, this batch serial number or batch number is not found for the item battery. That's why I mentioned before that it's important that the batch number have to be already created. So that part is really important. Now I'm going to put the correct batch number for my battery, and okay, it's already linked. If I have all the process linked, okay, I can close this. Okay, it's already, and I can report my progress. I will complete with the correct quantity, that 10. I'm going to say that is complete my job. I will report my progress. And in this step, the system will post the picking list journal. So if I go here, here the remaining status is material consumption, I'm going to refresh. And now the remaining status is root consumption. So something happened. I'm going to see the view journals picking list, and will open this journal, and I can see that we have already posted and consumed our components. And the inventory dimensions is what I assigned before. And here we are going to see the serial number that I mentioned in the beginning, that is a product component match ID. If I want to see what is happened in the track component, in the journal, I can press this button, track component, and I can see that the finished good that is not started, but the components are already complete the process. Here I can see line by line, but if I want to see all the components together, I go to production order, production details, track component, and I will see all the information. So all the components are complete, and we have to finish this for my finished goods. So for these finished goods, I'm going to use the job that I like to finish. And if we see the transactions, this reserve physical is going to consume here. Okay. So I will assign again. I will look for the production order here. I'm going to bring this data. And I'm going to use this step or this job to finish or report my finished good. As I finish the track of my component, you can see here that I do not need and I don't able to track anything else. So I'm going to report my progress here, and I want to confirm the quantity, the good quantity. And here I can see the batch number for my finished good. As we can see in my inventory transaction is the correct batch number. So I will say to the system, okay, I complete my job. I want to report my progress. And in this step, the system is going to post the journal for my finished goods. It's going to change the status. I will refresh. If I go to view and journals and report as finished, here I can find my journal already posted. And I can see that the dimensions were the dimensions that I assigned before. And also here we have the trunk components. We have already completed these trunk components. And if I want to see all together, I will to production order, production details, track components, and I can see all these complete. And here in transactions, if I were orderer, now I have to receive. I have already received. So this is the first example to use and track. We are going to see, before jump to the traceability, we are going to see another example, because sometimes our clients, some companies do not use production floor execution, or maybe don't use routes, or don't use, I don't know, all the functionality that we have in Dynamics 365. So I will show you how we can manually assign or track our component, because maybe, yes, we have traceability added in this case. So we are going to create a new production order. In this case, it's not a planned production order. I will pick another item, in this case, a cell phone. I will assign, okay, this for the site 1. This is bringing me what I have activated, the root and the boom. I will complete from the beginning my batch number. Remember, I want to, in this case, do it manually. So I have to create first this batch number before I assigned. Okay, I can complete here. I'm going to complete the location for this final finished good, the inventory status, and I will produce 10 pieces, and I will just delete the root number, because in this case we're going to see all manually, and I will create. Okay, so here we see the first status that is created. I'm going to go through estimated. As I mentioned before, in the estimation, the system will be estimate the cost. I can see here, and also is going to reserve my component. So I go to here, reservation. I will refresh my inventory dimensions, and I'm going to see here, which is the batch number that the system reserved. So I will track on the inventory management this production order here. Okay, so I have already my batch number for my finished goods, and I have a reservation for this component. So the next step, it will be released, but if I don't use warehouse management and I don't use any route, nothing like that, so I can skip. Of course, my setup allows to me or skip this step. So the next step is to start, but before I just start the production order, I have to track. And how I'm going to track manually, so I go to production details, and I press here in track components, and at the same we see and the production floor execution, the system here is telling me, okay, for the product, you have to tell me which is the batch number. So I'm going to copy and paste and submit, and okay, we have already a link for this finished good. And then I'm going to copy and paste for the components. So I'm going to submit, it's already linked. So I have already tracked, because this is really short, this production order, so I can start. In this setup, I have that in the start process, the system have to complete my picking list journal and also post it. So we are going to see if this works. We have to wait a minute, and we're going to see if already post my picking list.
So while we wait for this to process, remember that you could ask anything about this session or something you want to understand better in the chat or in the Q&A, okay?
Okay, so the system already posts our picking list journal. So if I want to see it, I go to View, Journals, Picking List, and I can see here my component. And if I see here the inventory dimensions, I'm going to see the inventory dimensions assigned, the track component, as we see in the production before, that are complete. We have to complete this part. Okay. If I go to transactions, I'm going to see that this step, that is reservoir physical, is going to convert and consume component, and we are going to come back. And then the last step is report as finished. We are going to confirm. Now we have already report. In the view, journals, report as finished, we have already our finished good reported. Here we can see in production order, production detail, trunk components that we have already all complete and track. Here in transactions, it's already received, so we finish. So if we track and we finish all this process, now we can jump here in our genealogy trace, no? Because this is the part where we are going to see what happened in the first case that I mentioned, that a client call us and say, okay, I have a problem with my battery. So we are going to use two different examples. We are going to look, for example, here, this production order, but it's also a batch number because I was assigned as a batch number the production order. So here I'm going to press here, and the system is going to bring me the cell phone and here the different components. So here, if I do click, I can trace and see the genealogy tree, or I can see also the different activities. In this case, the different activities, it was part of a production order. Here we have the different activities as the picking and consumption, and here we have all the production received for the finished goods. And the information also that we can find here is, in this case, we are going to have the order number, the production order number. In this case here that I'm in the production received the finished good, this is the number of our report as finished journal, okay? And if I go here, that is the picking and the consumed of our components, I'm going to see as document referral the number of our picking list journal. Yes. So, and all the information, the date, and how is this the product components, in this case the processor, the location, the warehouse, and so on. So if we have a problem with the battery, I will see, okay, I want to see what happened with this battery. So I'm going to trace the battery. and say, okay, for this battery, it was only consumed in this production order. This is the first and important point. So if I have to do a recall, I don't know if you are familiar with a recall, but the recall is when you have to bring back all the finished goods that you maybe sold or distribute for different places. So if I have to do a recall, it's important. Okay, I have this only production order, and then we have to call the different client to try back on my inventory. And if I want to see the activities from this battery, I can see that, okay, this is come from a purchase order, and this was the vendor name, the vendor account. The document here is our product receipt, the order number, the activity codes as we set here in the activities. And this is a case that is really easy, but we can also have a problem in maybe in this. We're going to select this one. This is maybe looks easier, but if I want to see what happened with the component and I see, okay, trace this component, I can see that, oh, look, this component was part of a lot of production order. I can see easily here. That's why it is important the use and implement traceability, because, okay, maybe the impact is more bigger than I thought. So here I have really a simple view that how is the impact of this issue in my battery cell phone. Also, and it's important to know that here we have an example for batch number, but in traceability, we can use also serial number, as we can see here. And maybe we have a finished good that is part, one component is part for another boom or activities. So we are going to see that maybe it's part for another production order. And you can be used also not only for discrete manufacturing, it's also applied for the process, production by process, like we can see here with the cream, no? Also for industries, in food industry, pharmaceutics, chemistry, not only for a bike or a cell phone. You can use traceability for everything. Okay, so I'm going to come back here. So we already see all the features and benefits that we are going to have with these traceability add-ins. And we're going to look this roadmap because it is important. It's a newborn traceability that we have, so it's growing along the time. And we are here in the phase 3. So in the few moments, we are going to have more functionality for traceability that includes asset management, sale process, warehouse management, transportation management, quality, and quarantine tracking. So here you can find useful links as, I don't know, install, uninstall, update, and also, for example, all the overview, the Microsoft Lens related to traceability, and that's all. So thank you so much. Okay.
Okay, wonderful presentation, Florencia.
Thanks. I hope everyone enjoys, because I was really, really excited to present
Nervous?
that, because no, I don't know, nervous, but yes, I was excited because I'm an operation woman. I work a lot with supply chain, and so for me, traceability and all related to supply chain is really amazing. So